Thank you very much.
So, what can I do to avoid hearing loss? Any of you can take it.
Okay, so there are certain things you can do, one of which is to help reduce the amount of noise or sound that goes into your ear. And as you mentioned earlier, this year's World Hearing Day is to emphasize on the need to hear for your lifespan. In that, if you acquired hearing right from birth to a certain age, and then before you die or in your old age you cannot hear, you haven't really achieved your hearing through the lifespan. So we are here to educate people on how to mitigate factors that will cause hearing loss. And one of them is what I mentioned, by reducing the amount of noise or sound that goes into the ear. The other ways are also to prevent putting things in our ear that can also predispose us to hearing loss. Typical example of things that we put in our ear include cotton bud, pen top, car keys, door keys. I mean, anything that feathers, anything that can go into the ear. These are some of the things that can easily cause hearing loss. So our education or our awareness is to sensitize people for them to know that some of these things are dangerous to your hearing. So we must avoid them completely.
Okay, so we are supposed to avoid all these things, and especially with feathers, you know, when you add a little bit of rub, the sensation is just magical. And so why do my ears itch then? And what should I do when I have such a condition?
Okay, so with itchy ear, it could be as a result of an infection. It could also be that you have interfered with the cleaning process of the ear. So you have predisposed yourself to itching, in that the ear has wax. The ear produces wax and it has hairs in the ear. So the wax and the hairs are supposed to trap dirt. But the continuous use of cotton bud and other things is getting rid of the dirt or even pushing it further. So sometimes a little dust that is supposed to be trapped by the wax goes into the ear, and on the canal it starts to itch.
Okay.
So we advise that you don't put anything at all. If you feel your ears are itching, just walk into any facility that has an ENT unit. Tell them your ears are itching. The professional will look in your ear. If there is a problem in relation to infection, you'll be treated. If there is the need to have the ear washed, it will be washed for you, and you are good to go. And the good thing is that most of these infections are covered by health insurance. So once you have your health insurance card and you walk into the facility, you get treated for free, and you are good to go.
So experts like you advise us not to listen to noise to a certain level. We must avoid noise at a certain level, right?
Yes.
So if I find myself in an environment where that noise level is so high, what do I do?
So there's what we call safe listening. Safe listening is listening to noise as a decibel of 80. And with that decibel, it means that you can do that listening for 40 hours a week. So if you divide averagely, you're supposed to listen to that level of noise or sound to about 5 or roughly 5.5 hours a day. So beyond that, you are exposing your ear to damage. So when you go into a noisy environment, the simple thing you can do is, with now the smartphones, you just download an app. It's called Sound Level Meter. You can just use it anywhere you go. You just put it on, and then it will tell you the decibel of that's the level of sound in the room, so you know how to protect your ear. You don't go beyond the 80. You can also use ear muffin or ear plugs. So when you go somewhere in a club or a party or somewhere the noise is too much, you can just put it in your ear to reduce the volume of sound that is going into your ear.
So for instance, when you are airborne, you're in a plane, you are given ear plugs or...
Yes, exactly, that's the reason they give, because there is a condition when the plane is taking off and when it is descending, it affects a part of your ear, the middle parts. So it's given so that you don't worry that part of the ear so much. That's why it's given. It's not given because it's part of the package.
Okay, that has to be given to you.
Exactly. You can have a hearing loss with that. It's called barotrauma.
So what about some of us that when we use that ear plugs and for a few minutes, then it seems everything is dead. You can't hear anything at all till you open and maybe exercise your jaw then you feel like something is just coming out of the ears before you, because when I'm airborne, it happens to me a lot.
Yes, so that one, it deals with the part of the ear called the middle ear. The ear has 3 parts. So you have the outer, the middle, and the inner. Now with the middle ear, there is a tube there called the eustachian tube. So that is what connects your middle ear to the back of your nose. Now the tube there is there to equalize the pressure. So it's there for a function. It also drains the middle ear secretion and prevents food from getting into it. Now, with the height and everything you are experiencing, or sometimes even when you get cold or you sneeze, when the tube dysfunction, it creates that negative pressure in the middle ear, and that is why sometimes it closes. For some people, when they descend, you descend from a plane, it's supposed to open and function. But if you don't experience it, you go to an ENT unit, and then sometimes they give you a medication or which teach you some mechanisms to do to open up the tube, and then the pressure will be equalized. I'm sure you've experienced it before.
Several times.
Exactly.
Anyway.
So there's a technique you would do. Normally you hold your nose and then you try to blow out, and then you to open in the tube. So
That's a good education there. Right, coming to you, sir. You spoke about earwax as being good in a way. But we've been told time and more that earwax is not good. Even when you're on the market, you hear our marketmen say, you are soon. You know, we've always been told that earwax is something dirty that needs to be expelled. So can you talk more about the earwax? Why do we need wax in our ears?
The earwax actually is just like sweat that appears on our skin. So the body produces it as a byproduct, which is supposed to come out of the ear. The reason why we are saying earwax is good is, as I mentioned earlier, it's supposed to help trap dirt. Sometimes you get tiny insects going into the ear. If the earwax is there, it prevents them from going further. However, it is because of our attitude or our way of doing things that makes the earwax bad. I mentioned earlier that when you put things in your ear, the professional is able to see your ear better and is able to work in your ear better. But as an individual, if I try to put something in my ear, I don't even see where I am going. I may end up pushing the wax further. And once I do that, continuous pushing of the wax further tends to harden the wax, which becomes very hard, and it becomes difficult for us to wash it. Even with that, it even reduces your level of hearing because it goes to block the eardrum. So your hearing decreases. So earwax itself is not bad. Just like we sweat or we wee-wee, it is good for the earwax to come. And for the information of viewers, the ear has its way of cleaning itself.
Oh, so it's self-cleansing.
Yes, it's self-cleansing. As I'm talking now, my jaws are going up and down. If I am chewing, my jaws are moving. So if there is wax that is impacted or is getting impacted, it rolls itself like a ball. So those of us who are very observant, sometimes you lie on your pillow, you wake up and you find a rolled brown substance on your pillow. That is the earwax that has come out of it. So God in his own wisdom has created us in such a way that other parts of the body are able to cleanse themselves. Why do we interfere? So it is the interference by using cotton bud and other things that predisposes us to the other causes such as the hearing loss and other infections that we are talking about.
I'm very happy that you spoke about the ear being self-cleansing. But in your presentation, you spoke about washing of the ears. Why do I need to wash my ears? And at what point does one need to have such a procedure?
Right. We know that even as humans, there are people who sweat more than others. So just like the wax, people produce a lot of wax more than others. I have had patients who come to my clinic every quarter because they produce so much wax. And once the person walks in, the person knows I have wax because his hearing has reduced. And he walks in, you wash the ear, and the hearing goes back to normal. So once you observe yourself as somebody who produces so much wax, you can just walk into any facility and have the ear wax washed out. Now, we do that in order to ensure that you don't do it yourself and then cause more damage.
Okay, lady, let me ask you this question. Let's talk about your theme. To hear for life, listen with care. How do I listen with care?
So the listening with care is for this year's World Hearing Day celebration. The listening with care is how we expose our ear to noise. You know, the ear, as I said earlier, has 3 parts. So the third part, which is the inner ear, there is a place that is called the cochlea that harbors the sensory cells or the hair cells, and that is the place responsible for hearing. Now, these hair cells, they are like grass that grow. So when air blows, or let's say that's the sound waves, they go down and then they come back. So sometimes they become tired. So that's why you need to give room for them to come back to normal. But if you leave it and you're exposing your ear to those higher volumes of sound, you lose it forever. And once they are gone, you can't get it.
You lose it forever?
Yes. Hearing loss can be permanent, and sometimes you may need surgery or other things to correct it. But it can also be preventable if you adhere to certain basic things we are talking about, like using the ear muffin or even the headset sometimes you use in your studios to just reduce the sound. You don't expose yourself to loud sound for a very long time. It can be gradual, it can be sudden. So most often the ones we see are the gradual ones. We don't feel it until a point that I realize that, no, I can't hear well. Or when I'm talking, I'm shouting. Or anytime someone is talking, I have to be looking at the face, do lip reading, and all those things before you realize that you are losing your hearing. Though we have hearing loss due to aging, that's presbycusis. Even at that stage, you can still maintain some level of hearing. So the theme for the year basically is that your entire life, if you are to grow to, let's say, 90 or 100 years, you should be able to listen, even though your senses may go down. It shouldn't be like, because now at this young age, a lot of people are experiencing early hearing loss, which shouldn't be so.
Are you having reports about such incidences in your?
We didn't come with the statistics on that, but yes, who come when you look at the age limit. He's an audiologist, so if you are getting more younger people coming with audiology coming to your department to do hearing assessment, and there is that level of hearing loss, it's not so
it's
good.
Alarming. Yes. So with this kind of a job that we have, I should have an earpiece with my director shouting, you know, and I can't tell my director, please lower your voice because I'm live on air. What do I do to prevent such thing? Because I always have my director shouting, you know.
Maybe he's shouting for emphasis.
Exactly.
But it shouldn't
but then at the cost of losing my hearing.
Exactly.
At a point in time.
Yes, so it's just a matter of, in your case, it's a matter of he not shouting.
And he maybe he doesn't know he's shouting, but because I have it firmly tagged in my ears. So journalists are predisposed to this.
Of course, that is the reason why we came this year to do you are part of the target audience for this year World Hearing Day, because you use the headset, the earpiece, you use that a lot. So sometimes you don't realize that you are exposing your ear to a lot of sound. So it's just a caution that you do. If you're not, it's not in use, you put it down so that the cells, the hair cell can
rest a bit and also. All right, thank you so much. This is good education, and we hope you'll be coming quite often to educate the public on this. It's quite a sensitive part organ.
Exactly. There is more to talk about the ear, the nose, and the throat.
We'll welcome you anytime. Thank you so much.